Tua. Ladd McConkey coming in at 100 to start the party, but he's actually in last place if you look at it in another way. Played 11 games last year, 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and a steep fall. He was number 36 last time we did this. Well, and now he's 91.
Yeah.
And you think he should have fallen even further?
Well, listen, we haven't seen the whole list, but like you said, he's the only quarterback they've released 10 names. So unless there's going to be 15 or 16 quarterbacks in the top 90, then this is too high. Because, like, we don't have to, like, rank them 1 through 15, but the following quarterbacks are better than Tua Tagovailoa.
Okay, go.
Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Matt Stafford, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, C.J. Stroud, Brock Purdy, Justin Herbert, Geno Smith, Jordan Love, Dak Prescott. That's 15. Now,
That's okay.
would have Trevor and Caleb ahead of him as well, but I knew you guys might argue about that.
We're doing what?
I think you might think Drake May's better than him. And so, exactly. So, to each their own. But I won't include the guys who, just are guys that I believe in that haven't established it. Those 15 guys have established it more than Tua has. And I included Purdy. You guys know I'm not a fan of, but I shouldn't say always, I have said to Brew repeatedly that I do think Purdy's better than Tua, even though I think they are oddly similar as far as benefiting from system and personnel more than their individual
also,
ability.
I know we're not going to. I bet Sam Darnold makes that list ahead of Tua. Just because it's so heavy on.
Based on what they did last year. Yeah, I didn't even include. Yeah, but that's my point. Like I think that Tua is a demonstrably flawed player. That everything has to be exactly right, and where he excels, coach, is if everything is exactly right, he's better than a lot of guys. You know what I mean? But as soon as things get off kilter or off schedule or he has to improvise, he's, in my opinion, one of the more limited guys in the league. I wonder if Rodgers might be ahead of him too. I didn't include Aaron Rodgers.
He might be.
But so I don't think he's a top 100 player, whatever that means, because I don't think 20% of the top 100 should be quarterbacks. And I don't think he's right now a definitive top half of the league quarterback. I think he's right in the middle.
One of my biggest issues and one of the biggest things that have held Tua back has been the injuries, right? So It's only been one season where he's played a complete season. I was surprised when the Dolphins decided to extend him the way they did, knowing that arguably he's one serious concussion away from being done. But when you look at his performance and the Dolphins' performance when he plays, it's been pretty good. And you named a lot of quarterbacks on that list that I think you could argue that Tua is as good as, if not better than. And if you just look at his numbers from last year, let's take a look at his numbers versus a player that you like. I mean, he's better in terms of completion percentage than Mahomes. Well, I mean,
this is dumb. I don't mean to be rude, but coach, but this is like you don't think you're presenting it, and you don't think he's better than Patrick Mahomes at anything.
I'm not saying that head to head he's better than Patrick Mahomes, but I'm saying in these objective measurements, he was better than Patrick Mahomes last year. When we're talking about the 91st person out of 100 players, I don't think it's unreasonable for him to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. First off, I'm glad Nick said this is dumb. It always makes me feel good when things get a little bit contentious, we'll say, because sometimes my takes can get a little heated. So even when they're at the table together, I try not to say anything is dumb or anything like that. I always say it's the sin, not the sinner. But I people struggle with these types of comparisons, really much so. I don't think Nick does, because Nick's too smart too. I think he strategically picks and chooses when he wants things like this to matter and when he doesn't. My whole thing is always like, when does something like this matter? Because Nick will show other infographics and be like, look at this, look how Mahomes is over this. And it's like, okay, well, with that logic, then this logic has to map on. And if it doesn't, tell me why not. And I'm not turning this into a Tua versus Mahomes video, because Mahomes is obviously better. But what it does show you at the very least that Tua is obviously not a scrub. And when you do the math, I had slightly different math because I think some of these things actually give him an extra game, even though he got knocked out of that game. So it's like it's a weirder situation. But I actually, when I did the math, he was on pace. If he played a full season, he would have had 30 plus touchdowns, nearly 5,000 passing yards. Like he would have had another really high level, statistical season, which is pretty impressive. Honestly, it's not easy to do. Even if you have a great roster and a great coach, those are pretty fantastic numbers that he does put up. I think, to me, the reason why people have concerns about Tua is definitely obviously his injury history, and you see him. We all have that image. I still have it burned down in my brain of, what with his fingers and whatnot. And then when he got knocked out of the game against the Buffalo Bills, I remember coming in here and I was like, I don't know if this was like in the very beginning of the channel, and I was like, I don't even really feel comfortable making a video about this. Like, it feels so uncomfortable, but like I have to talk about it, and I tried my best to do it as respectfully as I could have. And the fact that he's a lefty. This is not talked about enough a lot. And as someone who's a lefty, like, lefties look weird doing stuff, man. Your brain is like, we see righty quarterbacks, right hand, and everything just looks the same and specific. So anytime someone's even remotely different, it just looks weird. It looks wrong. When Tua throws, when Penix throws, it looks weird. If you weren't aware of the differences between like a left-handed and a right-hand or whatever, and you were just seeing and you were just watching football, and then you just randomly said, look at this guy play, and it was a lefty, the moms of the world would be like, why does it look weird and he throws? And you'd be like, it's because he's throwing left-handed, not right-handed. And it is. It's a mental thing that you kind of have to get over. So you look at him as a more fragile, because unfortunately he's kind of shown to be that, and in devastating fashion. And he's a lefty, and you're like, yeah, he's just not that good of a quarterback, because it feels weird. He feels fragile, and it feels like, when I watch him play, it just like doesn't feel smooth, doesn't feel right. Like it's like he throws, like, does he like do something weird with his arm? Like I can't place it. What is it? And it's like he's just a lefty. Like that's really all it is. And every time he gets hit, you kind of hold your breath, being, please be okay, please be okay, please be okay. So I think it's more of an optics than anything else. And I confess too, because when Nick was kind of talking about off script and stuff like that, right, there's not the feeling that this guy can stay in the pocket, get hit real hard, go on a big run. Like there's no feeling that he can put on the Superman cape, because he's shown to be Samuel L. Jackson in Unbreakable. He's Glass or whatever the heck he is, like, and it's a tough spot. But like Tua actually does, and he has put up pretty good numbers. And it's actually kind of funny because people don't want to give any credit to Tyreek Hill for the success that he had with the Kansas City Chiefs. And Mahomes, they want to give it to all Mahomes. And they want to isolate Tyreek Hill. Yet Tyreek Hill actually had his best year with Tua. And so does Tua not get any credit for that? It's like it's always fascinating to figure out with obviously the crucial relationship between a quarterback and a wide receiver. It's like when a wide receiver goes off for 1,400 yards and 15 touchdowns or something, it's like, is it the quarterback or is it the wide receiver? And we always pick and choose when we want it to be the wide receiver and when we want it to be the quarterback. If we love the quarterback, it's all the quarterback. If we don't think the quarterback's that good, then it's all the wide receiver. It's like we can't. It's really funny. And it is, and to be fair, it is hard to figure out to a degree. When you have a great quarterback and a great wide receiver, or a good quarterback and a good wide receiver, like, it is kind of hard to figure out, like, how do we divvy up this credit? And it's why, say it with me, the NFL, football, is the ultimate team sport. That's what makes it hard. That's what makes it fascinating to unpack, and why we can discuss the same game 100 different ways and reach 100 different conclusions. The same person, I could watch a game, have a take, and then say, you know what, I'm going to do it again, and come up with a completely different take, because there's so many different variables. And it's what makes it so fascinating to kind of look at someone like a Tua and be like, well, how good is he? I'll be honest, I'm not concerned with the actual number of the top 100, because I have no idea how we compare a quarterback to who were the other players up there. Who's more valuable, Tua or Lad McConkey. Like, let me see here. Right? I mean, like, Laporta, Sweat, Williams, Jones, London. Like, I don't know how we put all those guys together. Like, it's hard enough, honestly, just to rank quarterbacks individually. And doing, like, a top 100 list of players is, you know, kind of brutally difficult for me. But I think the reality is when Nick kind of started naming all those quarterbacks, I really do remember when I started to really form stronger opinions about football and quarterbacks. Like, we really were kind of at this peak of just you're either a great quarterback or you're just not good, and you just fall off this cliff. And it's taken some time for my mind to kind of like change that conclusion, because it's no longer the conclusion. I think we have a lot of really good quarterbacks in the NFL right now. And this is what I've been saying all off season, is that like when we're looking at all these kind of schedule releases and win-loss predictions and stuff like that, in years past, I've been able to so much more firmly be like, okay, this should be a win, this should be a win, this should be a loss. And now there's just so many teams where I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like their quarterback is pretty good, and their roster seems pretty good, and their coach seems pretty good. Like, I'm kind of curious to see what so-and-so does with this coach, or this quarterback does with this team now, you know, whatever it may be. I'm like, everyone's kind of pretty good right now. Now, there's obviously still a separation. You still have the Mahomeses, the Josh Allens, and whatnot. But we used to have a cliff with quarterbacks. It used to just be like you had 3 or 4 great quarterbacks, great quarterbacks, and then it was just like, oh my gosh, it's just a struggle. I don't think you really have that right now. So when you name these other quarterbacks like the Brock Purdy's, the CJ Strouds, the Genos, et cetera, it's like once upon a time, I feel like that could have really been an insult to be like, you're the 15th best quarterback or something. And it's like, it depends on the situation. Sometimes it's definitely an insult. Other times it's like, I don't know, from 8 to 15, you guys are all very similar to each other. Like, you're all kind of in the same bag. Like, realistically, you shouldn't be ranked 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You guys are all just, boom, in the same tier. And that just is what it is. You guys are all dependent on playing on script, having a great coach, having a great roster, etc., etc. So it's just like, I don't know. It becomes it becomes an interesting conversation. And again, quarterbacks are so hyper-focused because think about this. This was just released, and I guess it was just 91 to 100. What are we supposed to do here? Be like, Jones shouldn't be 98. He should definitely be 74. It's like, you can't do it. You can't do it. But you can look at Tua and be like, is Tua a great quarterback or not? Should he be 91 or should he be 37? Like, it's just, I don't know. It's interesting. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Tua Tagovailoa being ranked 91st in the NFL? And I guess according to Nick, had him at like the 16th, 17th or so best quarterback in the NFL. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.